it's Parm King, and I'm just here in the village of Kresk at the inn, having a nice frothy ale with my good mate here, Darovich. Darovich, how you doing? And I'm here to share with you a Dungeon Master tip called prompting. What is prompting? Well, prompting is when we give a nugget or morsel of information or object for the players to engage in the environment. We are trying to incite them to do something. We want to avoid creating too much of an open-ended scenario that can lead to problems for both your players and ultimately problems for me, the Dungeon Master. Let me give you an example. Our players are staying here in the wonderful inn in Kresk. After a nice long rest, they wake up refreshed in the morning. What do you want to do? Now, normally that would seem like exactly what you want to say, and I would most likely agree with you, except for the fact that leaving it open-ended like that without a prompt can lead to problems for both your players and for me, the Dungeon Master. You may have one of those players at your table that needs to be prompted, otherwise they're going to shut down. They're not going to engage. When you say, what do you want to do? They might just sit there like with their eyes looking like a deer in a headlight. Or maybe they'll say, go get breakfast. Perhaps have an ale with Darovich, who knows? On the other hand, on the other extreme, you could have that high energy, creative role-playing person that's been taking detailed notes and said, I know exactly what we're going to do. We're going to get all our stuff in our gear. We're going to get on our horses. We're going to head back to that village of Stonebridge that we passed 2 sessions ago and investigate. And there lies the problem for me, the Dungeon Master. Because that village of Stonebridge that I mentioned 2 sessions ago, I just made that up. They were passing that village on the road and they wanted to know what the village name was, so I said Stonebridge. I had no idea that they would ever go back there, let alone want to go back there and now want to investigate. So I better be really good at improvisation, because now they're leaving to go to the Stonebridge, and all the preparation I've done for this session, well, I can throw it out the window. The prompting allows me to give the players some ideas and some thoughts of things for them to investigate, for things for them to engage without leaving it so open-ended. It kind of reminds me of that show called Whose Line Is It Anyway? If you haven't seen it, it's exactly about prompting and improvisation. There are 3 comedians sitting on stage, there's a host and the audience, and the host and the audience prompts the people on stage to improvise. It could be an object like a beach ball. It could be a song or a jingle. It could be a scene or scenario. What they don't do is just say, okay, improvise. In each scene, they give the players, or in this case, the comedians, something, an object or an idea for which they need to improvise around. In essence, we, the Dungeon Masters, are like the host of Whose Line Is It Anyway? Blah, blah, blah. I've had too much ale with Darovich here. Except for the fact, rather than just asking the audience, we've prepped out, we already know what our prompts are going to be. We feed them to our characters for them to improvise and to engage in the environment around them. Let's go back to waking up in the tavern and introduce some prompting ideas. In each scenario, by the way, they're going to all wake up refreshed, or maybe not. You wake up in the morning refreshed after a long rest. You hear a knock at the door. When you answer the door, it's a local villager. Hello, I heard there were some adventurers staying here at the tavern. I need your help. Or, there's a knock at the door, but when you go to the door, no one's there. Instead, there's a mysterious note that's been slipped to the door with some cryptic writings that will need to be deciphered in order to understand it. Or, you wake up really early in the morning to the sounds of scuffling and arguing coming from down below in the tavern. Or, you wake up in the morning and one of your fellow adventurers, Elfie McElferson, is in a catatonic state. Could it be poison, a curse? Who knows? In each one of these scenarios, they are waking up in the tavern, but you've prompted them with something to engage in. It could be a letter, an object. It could be an NPC asking for help. It could be a sound, or it could be the change of state of one of your players. Prompting also allows you to control the pacing of the adventure. If things slow down too much and you want to speed it up, you can prompt them by introducing an object or NPC encounter. Prompting can also help lost players steer them back to the campaign or the quest when they're trying to find something by introducing something they find in the environment, or perhaps somebody who's walking along the road. One of the things that I like to have in my back pocket is what I call the Elusive Npc. This NPC is just made up. They're not important. They're there to introduce whenever you need to create a prompt. They could give the players a clue. They could give the players an item, perhaps make a request. They're not a main antagonist or relatively anybody at all. You just have a couple of them ready to walk into a tavern or be wandering down the road, or an old hermit, living in the woods. They're there to prompt the players, to provide clues and information, perhaps even an item or two. Prompting is what I think one of the most important small elements that we often don't talk about to help control the pacing of our campaign, to give our players the reasons to act in the agency and the freedom of the sandbox that we've given them. Otherwise, you might as well just not prepare and let them do whatever they want, which makes it really hard as a dungeon master or game master to prepare for a session if it's too open-ended. Now, where do you get your prompts? Well, if you're playing pre-written module like Curse of Straw, Dragon Heist, Ghost of Saltmarsh, they're loaded with them. There's random roll tables. There are different types of low-level NPCs in there. There's even items. There's rumors. There's clues. And just read through it, write some things down, and just have a list ready to introduce them to help your characters along their way and their particular adventure. Well, I hope you found this DM tip. It's short, was useful. Think about prompts. Leave some of your prompting suggestions in the comments below. Please like and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out. Not that I'm not monetizing any of this. Maybe I should. Maybe I should, so I can buy some more ales with my buddy here, Darvich. Hey, until next time, this is Parm King signing off, and may all your rolls be critical 20s.